969 years. That's how long Methuselah lived. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating chapters in Genesis, a genealogy that's far more than just a list of names and numbers.
And what's really incredible is how each name in this genealogy tells a story, carrying deep spiritual significance that many readers might miss at first glance.
Let's start at the beginning. Chapter 5 opens with something profound about humanity's creation, doesn't it?
Yes, it starts by reaffirming that humans were created in God's likeness. This is crucial because it shows that our identity begins with God, not with sin.
Wait, so even after the fall in Genesis 3, this image of God remains?
Exactly. The text explicitly states this to remind us that despite human failure, God's original blessing continues. It's a powerful message of hope.
And then we get to Seth, Adam's son. There's something significant about his birth, right?
Indeed. Seth is described as being born in Adam's likeness, not directly in God's likeness. This reflects the new reality after the fall.
That's a subtle but important distinction.
And then Seth's son was named Enosh, which literally means weak or mortal. It's like a commentary on humanity's new condition.
These ages are fascinating, though. Adam lived 930 years, Seth 912 years. What should we make of these incredibly long lifespans?
The text is very precise about these ages, and interestingly, each person is recorded as having sons and daughters, not just the firstborn.
And then we get to probably the most intriguing figure in this chapter, Enoch. What makes his story so special?
Enoch breaks the pattern completely. While everyone else's record ends with, "and he died," Enoch's story is different. He walked with God, and he was not, for God took him.
That's such a dramatic interruption in the pattern. What does it signify?
Enoch becomes the first example of victory over death. His name means dedicated, and his life shows us that a dedicated life leads to a God-filled destiny.
So, in the midst of all these death notices, we get this incredible story of hope?
Exactly. And Enoch walked with God for 300 years, just like Adam and Eve originally did in Eden. It's a picture of restored fellowship.
That's beautiful. And then we get to Lamech and Noah. There's something special about Noah's naming, isn't there?
Yes. Lamech names his son Noah, meaning rest or comfort, saying he would bring comfort from the work and toil of the cursed ground.
That name seems prophetic, considering Noah's later role.
Absolutely. And there's this fascinating connection between Noah's name, meaning rest, and the concept of Sabbath rest established in creation.
You know what strikes me? This chapter seems to be both a record of death and a promise of hope.
That's exactly right. While we see the reality of death, "and he died," repeated over and over, we also see God's faithfulness through figures like Enoch and Noah.
Can we talk about this interesting detail about prayer being instituted after Enosh?
Yes, this marks a significant shift. After Enosh, direct face-to-face communication with God changed to prayer-based communion.
That's quite a transition in how humans related to God.
And it reflects the growing separation between humanity and God, yet also shows God's provision of a new way to maintain relationship.
Let's talk about these incredibly long lifespans. Adam lived 930 years, Methuselah 969.
What's fascinating is that despite these long lives, the text still emphasizes their mortality. They all died, except Enoch.
And Methuselah, he lived the longest of anyone recorded in Scripture, right?
Yes, 969 years. And interestingly, his death appears to coincide with the timing of the flood.
Speaking of the flood, there's this interesting parallel you mentioned earlier about baptism.
Yes, the flood serves as a kind of global baptism, cleansing the earth just as personal baptism cleanses the individual.
And then there's that beautiful image of the dove after the flood,
which connects directly back to Genesis 1, where the Spirit of God hovered over the waters. It's like a new creation narrative.
These connections are incredible. What about the symbolic meaning of these names? They tell a story, don't they?
They do. From Adam, mankind, to Seth, appointed, to Enosh, mortal, the names trace humanity's journey from glory to humility.
And Enoch's name, meaning dedicated, seems particularly significant given his story.
Absolutely. His dedication led to the ultimate reward, being taken directly to God without experiencing death.
It's amazing how much spiritual insight is packed into what might seem like a simple genealogy.
And that's why it's so important to read these passages carefully. Every detail carries meaning.
Let's talk about this idea of the image of God remaining even after the fall. Why is that so significant?
It shows that despite human failure, our fundamental identity and worth come from God, not from our actions or failures.
That's such a hopeful message in what could be seen as a pretty sobering chapter.
And it's reinforced by Enoch's story, showing that walking with God is still possible, even in a fallen world.
You mentioned earlier about Lamech's name meaning stroke. How does that fit into the narrative?
It's a stark contrast to his son Noah's name, meaning rest. It's like the turning point from judgment to comfort.
These names really do tell a story, don't they?
They form a narrative of humanity's fall and God's persistent work of restoration.
And it all points forward to something greater, doesn't it?
Yes, this genealogy ultimately points to Christ. It's part of the larger story of redemption.
Let's talk about that connection to Christ. How does this genealogy relate to Jesus?
Well, Luke's gospel traces Jesus' lineage all the way back through this very genealogy to Adam, showing Jesus as the ultimate fulfillment of God's promises.
So this isn't just ancient history, it's part of a much bigger story.
Exactly. It's the beginning of the story that leads to salvation through Christ.
What strikes me is how personal these accounts are, despite spanning such vast time periods.
Yes, each person's life is carefully recorded, showing God's attention to individual stories within the larger narrative.
And each story seems to carry its own lesson or insight.
From Adam's creation in God's image to Enoch's faithful walk to Noah's role in renewal, each life tells part of God's story.
As we wrap up, what's the main takeaway from this fascinating chapter?
I think it's that even in a world marked by death, God provides hope through faithful individuals and promises of restoration.
And through seemingly simple genealogies, we find profound spiritual truths.
Exactly. Every name, every number, every detail points to God's larger purpose in human history.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Co-Pilot Podcasts. Remember, sometimes the most profound truths are hidden in what appears to be a simple list of names.
And just like Enoch walked with God, we too can find deep meaning in our own spiritual journey.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Genesis 5. Until next time, keep digging deeper into these ancient texts. There's always more to discover.